Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And hello, I'm Bob Hickey, your host of Foxborough Central. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. I'm honored to be joined today by Jim DeVellis. Jim is a volunteer, a dad, a family man, a professional, and also the chairman of our Board of Selectmen. You've served, what, 6 years now?
Finishing up my 6th year.
Finishing up your 6 years. So as our chairman, you have the honor, I will say, because I like my program and I like what we do here, of joining me as we do this time every year. You have on the national level the State of the Union address by the President. You have in the city of Boston the State of the City address by the Mayor. And here in Foxborough we have the State of the Town. So Chairman DeVellis, if I can call you Jim, is that okay?
Yep, that's perfect.
Now, you can call me Bob.
I'll call you Bob.
Fantastic. So here in Foxborough, of course, I've always said that our community is built on the backs of our volunteers, and they're truly what make up the fabric of our community is how much time people give. You give much more than most of us. So, you know, it's on several levels. I'm glad that you've joined us because a lot of these projects that happen in town, you lead, and a lot of the things that are going on in town, you have a hand in. So as we talk about the state of the town, I'd also love to be able to just kind of delve into some of these various projects as we go along. So I have no idea exactly what path you're going to lead us down, but if you'll allow me to jump in every once in a while, I'll appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invite. I appreciate that. And second of all, you're too kind. I'm the spokesman a lot for some of these projects, but like you said, the outpouring of volunteerism in town is phenomenal. And starting with my board, the other four members, I mean, collectively, I think we work very well together, as do the planning board, the zoning board, conservation, and all the other spin-off boards that work. So, you know, when you had asked me to come this evening to kind of talk about the state of Foxborough, how we're doing right now, kind of lucky. This is the first year we've done this. If you're watching at home, or if you're next time you go to a computer, if you log on to Foxborough, is it foxboroughma.gov? It's Foxborough spelled the long way. This is the first year we've done this. We put a video together, and it's kind of selling the town a little bit. And thanks to Cable Access, it was last minute. It was the last meeting of 2015, where we wanted to just give an opportunity to get people to say what they've been doing all year. And it's probably about a 15-minute video, and you guys published it for us, and it highlights some of the positive things in town. And as you know, the board sometimes gets controversial. There's a lot of disagreement, and sometimes I think that's a good thing.
As which happens in any group discussion, because you build consensus through disparate ideas, and through those different ideas coming together, you build a stronger solution.
Correct, and we challenge, you know, a lot of entities, and so that we get a lot of, you know, publicity in the paper. So if you're thinking everything's controversial, take a minute to look at the video, and it kind of gives you an opportunity to take a breath and look at 2015. Starting off, if you remember, not so long ago, we had over 100 inches of snow. So it starts off, you know, giving kudos to the DPW and neighbors helping neighbors throughout town, because it was a tough, you know, few months that we had. We've been lucky this winter. It talks a lot about the volunteers in town, whether it's, it talks about the fields projects that happened down at Payson at the high school, has an Eagle Scout project. And even though those aren't quite Selectmen projects, a lot of the stuff comes through us for approval, so we're involved. It highlights Founders Day, simple things as the centennial, what's the word I'm looking for? The centennial returning atop the Memorial Hall.
Yeah, the statue returning, and that is a great example because Cable Access, you know, with our volunteers, we were able to, using our new drone, give some phenomenal pictures. But then the people who did the work on that, and then just so much good work went into that.
Yeah, so. And it's funny because a lot of these things I'm mentioning, Cable Access is right there, either at our meetings or at the Eagle Scout projects or the dedications.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that because I think Foxborough Cable Access, and of course we're all volunteers here, and you're a volunteer taking the time to join me as we bring this information to the viewers. But it's a microcosm of how Foxborough works, and we just happen to be lucky enough to be in the position where what we do is publicize all these other things. So it's not by design, but it's by function that we at Cable Access are part of this. So for example, that great video that I'm sure people can go to, the address is on the screen, but I always just go to Google and type in Foxborough, spelled the old way, town of, and the link comes right up. But Just Todd and Jillian Larson here with Cable Access, of course, under the direction of Mike Weber, our great executive director, put that together. So I'm really looking forward, and I know you are at home also to seeing that.
To see that,
so.
So the other things that are highlighted, we just finished up the initial steps of this, but the town reached out to all businesses, people. We raised $50,000, for the flagpole.
For the new flagpole.
Yep, and it was said on this show earlier. Some people say, well, why isn't it just a taxpayer? Why doesn't the town take care of the flagpole? And the feeling was it's for the people, by the people. And I was a little skeptical at the beginning, saying there's so many fundraisers out there and people are pulled in different directions. This is going to be tough to do. But I was blown away, that the town could pull together to do this. It's going to be constructed, the old one removed in a couple sections, a new one put in. It'll be ready in May for Memorial Day.
Well, my neighbor and our town historian, Jack Othellette, is phenomenal when it comes to reminding us of the history, reminding us of why the community is the way we are, because we do so much as far as volunteering, pulling together. And go back to his recently completed series on the Civil War and how Foxborough really pulled together to supply personnel and supplies, equipment, funding to the war effort back, a century and a half ago, to the bond drive in World War II, where the community came together. And then the flagpole, which was originally a community endeavor, and how the replacement is a community endeavor.
Correct.
And so, Jack always does such a great job of reminding us, and the flagpole is a great example of him reminding us that it's not the taxpayer responsibility to just pay and make it all happen. It's really the community's responsibility to make the community work. So whether it's volunteerism, donations, fundraisers, worthy projects, it's a great example of how we do things here in Foxborough.
Yeah, and it's more the norm than the exception these days.
It is.
Another thing that's highlighted on the video, Hugs. It's a group in town that addresses family violence, and it's a place. If you go over by the fire station, you'll see a sign that says Hugs, and there's a volunteer group that puts flowers there, things like that. That it seems like every week there's something like that coming up. National Night Out. It's a kind of a partnership with the police and JC's and gets together once a year, and that happens on the Common. Talking about crime and drugs and things like that, which you don't see in a lot of towns.
And Chief O'Leary is a tireless advocate of creating those partnerships in education. He's appeared on this program so many times to just talk about the issues and the needs and how we as a community can better educate ourselves. And you were part of that also with educating us as far as darkness to light and the entire issue of sexual abuse and bringing that to the forefront, not hiding behind, we don't want to talk about that. You definitely were brave and forward-thinking.
Yeah, you'll see there's a group that was put together by volunteers, and it's part of our law now that called the Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Committee. And over the last year, they've trained up to close to 300 people, coaches, town workers, volunteers that come, and they go through that program. And that's one of the Warrant Articles we'll talk. You have, yeah, and it's something that you're right. People don't want to talk about it; they kind of ignore it. Once you go through the training, your eyes are open, and you almost want to say, "Why didn't we do this a long time ago?" So you're not going to see that in another town in Massachusetts. Foxborough, as far as I know, is the only one that has implemented that in law. And it's one of the Warrant Articles coming up in February. I'll talk about that in a little bit.
That's great.
What else did we do this year? Child cancer awareness. The family of Danny Nickerson, who passed away from a form of cancer, we gave them a citation that every month out of the year there's going to be child cancer awareness, and you'll see the bows around the Common, and that is something that's going to go on year after year, which is the dark side of it, but keeping it discussed and on people's minds is something that is a good thing. So you see that in Foxborough. Purple Heart Week, that was implemented. Ginny Capola, one of the selectmen, and Jay Barrows and Michael Johns brought that forward, and we're continuing that again this year and giving recognition to the existing Purple Heart recipients and the ones that we don't have on the list we're still trying to bring in and give commendations to them. And that, if you get a chance to see that at the selectmen's meeting, when you get somebody coming in their family, second to none. It's a nice process. You saw the farmers market get rebuilt from vandalism, bigger than ever, and the money that comes in from that is going to the discretionary fund. You know, Lisa Downs and Jeff Down runs that, and you see people coming together, Christmas, Thanksgiving, the veterans turkey, giving turkeys to all the veterans that just simply asked for it. It makes you proud to live in Foxborough, and again, it sounds like the selectmen are taking credit for it, but it's I think our responsibility when you see something nice in town, embrace it and keep it moving forward. So
you know, that's a great point. It's not the selectmen, but at the same time, the selectmen are the face of our town. You're the leaders of our government and the ones that we look to for guidance, interpretation, fix, resolve, discuss, vet. And so it's very appropriate that you share this information with us. And all 5 members of the Board of Selectmen should be given great credit for the accomplishments of this past year. So we can see that by going to the town website.
foxboroughma.gov.
And we click on the link, and it's a 15-minute, and it's produced by the folks here at Foxborough Cable Access.
Foxborough Cable Access.
Shameless plug for FCA.
Some nice video clips, nice still pictures. And the other thing it shows is, and we keep saying it over and over, but the town is blessed with a lot of volunteers and a lot of staff that has longevity. The year 2015, we had some passing of some very significant people, so there's some recognition on there, the people that had passed away, the long-term volunteers that have moved on to different towns or had moved away. And it also shows some of the new staff that came in as replacement. So you've got somebody that has been there for 20 to 30 years, and then a new hire, so it kind of juxtaposes them, you know, is that a word? But next to each other.
Well, I was just going to say that change is the one constant in
Yeah.
any community. So as long as it's going forward in the right direction, that's the key. And that's the leadership that we look towards. So speaking of leadership, as chairman of the Board of Selectmen, you are here to tell us the state of our town.
Correct.
How are we financially? How are we logistically? How are we with a special town meeting coming up? How are we what's the feel in the air?
Financially, we're in very good shape. We've addressed probably 6-7 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, working with the finance department, Randy Scald and his group, put together a 5-year plan. And it's been pretty much the Bible.
It's about 7 years ago when I got kicked off the Board of Selectmen. So you're saying that once I left, things got better.
We implemented it. We put it all together.
Okay, all right, I'll remember that.
So you know, in the last, I'd say let's go back 10 years. You've seen the economy go up, drop drastically, and now it's back up. It's a way to gauge it. So you're not panicking and taking money out of reserves to, you know, so it's done. You're not overtaxing. We've kept the 2.5 constant and addressed, you know, when the economy dropped, we had an opportunity to look at staffing and contracts. So moving forward, we've kind of put contracts together in 2 and 3 year increments. So there's some good planning, so you know the highs and the lows, and kind of. All
kidding aside, we here in Foxborough, we're definitely not impacted as significantly, I'll say it however you want to phrase it, as many of our surrounding towns because of the way the planning has gone. So this is much credit to you and also to Randy Scollins, Town Finance Director, current Town Manager Bill Keegan, and going back to Andy Gala and even Kevin Pecos, going through and making sure that we as a community were set up for you know, understanding that those downs are going to come and how do we work through those cycles. And I'm not really sure enough credit has been given, or maybe enough explanation has been given as to how did we make it through the 2011-2012 negative cycle. 2008, 2009 is the one we all know about, but it didn't really recover in 2011. It went down again. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So you look at some of the long-term planning stuff. So you've got your residence side, which, you know, the schools and the residents, taxpayers and things like that. But you look at the businesses. So this year, Snyder, a 100-year business. couple years ago, we gave them what they call the TIF, kind of a look at their tax structure that says we're going to give you a little bit of a break, invest in town, don't go south like a lot of the other industry, rebuild, reinvent yourself and stay in Foxborough. So this year, they've expanded, they've put a ton of money into their infrastructure, their buildings, and they're going like crazy.
And that TIF was a key piece of a special town meeting.
Yep.
And the anticipation was that they would stay, and not only have they stayed, but they're even stronger now. And that was at the time when they took over from the prior entity that owned them, and they made that commitment to stay. And the TIF itself isn't a reduction in tax, it's simply a holdback on when we increase the taxes based upon improvements they make to the physical structures.
Correct. So it's kind of like,
say, okay,
it's on hold pattern,
right.
build, and then we'll give you a couple years and we'll implement it again.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. So you look at other, if the town is looking good and feeling good and people want to invest, you look at Lakeview. Burnt down, catastrophe.
Yes.
They were at the crossroads.
They did
Do we
such a
give
great
up?
job of coming back.
They came back. They rebuilt this year. And you look at Normandy Farms, 100-year-old business. They got the best campground in the country.
Yes.
We just gave them an award for that.
Daniel's family worked so hard down there. It's a great
Unbelievable.
place.
So if you get a chance, visit it. I mean, growing up, my wife's family and the in-laws used to drive around for a while when the kids were little and end up back in Foxborough and tell them they're in Vermont or something. It's an amazing place. So if you get a chance to go there, the one big business, the Route 1 Patriots Place craft
Absolutely.
organization, and you were right in the middle of that when they redeveloped and built Patriots Place. And we're at kind of a little bit of a crossroads now. They're all built out up there. They've got land on the other side of Route 1. And we're in the process of taking a look at, is it 30-plus year contract, I'm sorry, not contract, a lease, because we own the land, they own the stadium, looking at a better way to do it. Times have changed, it's an entertainment venue, they've got land on Route 1, how could we look at the whole Route 1 and an opportunity to do that? So all of their investments, on phase 1 has come through. Now it's a time to say, all right, can we make it a little bit better to kind of incentivize phase 2.
It's interesting you say that because it truly is a partnership with any business in town. Schneider Electric invents this before them. The Patriots organization, Robert Kraft, when he bought the team and turned his parking lots into the beautiful development that is up there now, there's a belief, I believe, by many that everybody is owed. And we look here in the center of town where you've got the businesses, but we don't want to really necessarily put forth the effort to do what it takes to attract new businesses to downtown Foxborough, Foxfield Plaza, which is now going through its redevelopment. There's so many ways that we as a community sometimes are guilty of taking things for granted.
Yes.
And yet you look at, you mentioned the discretionary fund earlier on, what a wonderful thing that the discretionary fund is that most other communities
just don't have.
And that itself was a merging together of many relief organizations and charitable ventures back pre-World War II during the Depression. And you can go to Jack Othlet, who does a lot of education. I learned that.
And community farm.
But we had the community farm, we had that, and then we also had the Partners in Patriotism, which is a brand new charitable arm of the Kraft organization that is really making a significant difference. And then we go back to the flagpole where the final touchdown was scored by a, pardon the pun, through a generous donation there. So, again, it's the entire pie that comes together. And so we're talking about the future state of the town.
Yeah.
What does Route 1 hold? Where are we at?
Route 1, they're reconstructing parts of it right now. They're putting in a hotel. Restaurants are changing a little bit. The main parts outside of Route 1, my personal feeling is, the parking lots and the businesses that are there collectively, if we could work together and figure that out, so it's the benefit of everybody. The Economic Development Committee, which has been around for a long time, just got rejuvenated or reenacted this year. So it's a robust group, and they've been meeting at least once a month, maybe twice a month, and they've got some great ideas. They're starting to come back, and you'll see that in some of the warrant articles. We've got a lot of good discussion about liquor licenses. Some people think we don't need any more. Other people think we need 50 more. So those discussions happen with, what if you build here? What if you do that? The zoning board, the planning board, the whole corridor is being looked at pretty seriously right now.
So a lot of work is going into this, mostly done by volunteers.
Correct. Yep. But you mentioned the Patriots. They won the Super Bowl in 2015. They just won the division to go into the AFC Championship against the Broncos next week.
This is taped right after a thrilling victory against the Kansas City Chiefs, and before they play the Denver Broncos.
Correct.
So, spoiler alert, there is no spoiler alert. You know more than we do.
Yeah, but it's. I guess my focus is it's a good partnership. We could go in any direction with it, but if cooler heads prevail, we discuss things. There's a win-win for both the town, the municipal side, and any private business. Where you look at Route 1 right now, not Route 1, downtown. Just auctioned off the fire station, Keating's Funeral Home, and a little parcel in between there. There's some opportunity there. So there's always change, there's always opportunity.
And the sewer situation is resolving itself?
Last town meeting, we voted for the municipal tri-town agreement between Mansfield, Foxborough, and Norton that says we're now a partner, not a
We're
customer.
now a part owner, yes.
Part owner,
which is key to the whole agreement on our side.
Yep. So that was, we couldn't have done that without, Jay Barrow's state legislation made that all happen. Town embraced it. Now we've got the sewer capacity. Now it's the proper development to plug into that. So that's
That was
what
an
we're working
8-year
on.
project to this point.
Yeah, I would say a little bit more than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, Route 1 going well.
Yep.
Opportunity. Downtown going well. There's opportunity. Town Hall. Let's talk quickly about Town Hall. I know that this is on the warrant, and we're going to touch on that also on February 20. I've got it written down here.
Yep,
I've actually got the warrant article in my hands because I'm that kind of host.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, February 23rd, there's a special town meeting. Do you want to take a few minutes to talk about that?
Yeah, there's 8 articles. Okay, it's a special town meeting, and it's the week after the school vacation. So if you can possibly get there. Sometimes I get a little discouraged because you've got thousands of people in town and you're stressed to get 100 people.
I will say that I think town meeting works exactly the way it's supposed to, and I love it when a lot of people show up, but I also love it when the core people show up. It just shows that there's people who care, but also when there are items on here that move people, such as Town Hall. We should be able to expect a huge turnout, and that's the way it's supposed to work. So I'll be all positive on time. I love town meeting.
All right, so if you can show up, it's 7:30 at the high school. It's on a Tuesday, not a Monday this year because of the school break. We had to shift it. And there's 8 articles. So the town hall article, and we talked about it on a previous show, but it's a long time coming. It's been going on at least a dozen years, I think, on getting it to this point. I think all the stars are aligned with good management, good design, value engineering. I could probably talk an hour on it, but that's going to be the last article to be voted for. And
financially, we're in a great place. My understanding is that it's not going to be an override request that's going to be rolled into the existing funding structure. So that's a big win.
It'll be bonded, but through the existing. So you're not going to get, raise your hand for a tax override of 2.5. That has never happened in Foxborough, as far as I know, and it's not going to start in the town hall. So it's vetted through all of the boards, all the committees. The advisory committee, it's been all positive. They're going to wait for the bids to come in. So the third week in January, we're going to get the contractor bids, all the sub bids, and then it's a public bid. We're going to open it. It's going to have the price, and then that's what we're going to bring to town hall. So construction documents, contractor, name a contractor, schedule, raise your hand if you want it. And we typically don't do it that way, but over the last 10 years of process, this is what the town people wanted to do. The residents wanted an exact number, exact design, and as far as what the building's going to look like.
And I think it's interesting because then people can go to another episode of this show, Foxborough Central, at fcatv.org and click on the link for the episode about the town hall project. And there's a beautiful, there's some schematics on there showing what the town hall is going to look like, both visually from the exterior as well as functionally from the room setup and how the layout's going to be. So, and there's other information there. And also, there's another episode of Foxborough Central that will be meeting with the advisory committee to vet this project. So looking forward to that. So for those of you who are fans of this program, it's good stuff coming down the pike. So let's talk about the other 7 articles.
So there's 3 articles on contracts. So we have the police contract. We have what we call the steel workers contract.
Which
and
are
that's
the
town
office
hall.
workers at town hall.
Administration office workers at town hall, and then the library contract. So the town manager and assistant town manager has been working hard with the unions to come up with multi-year contracts. So it's not going up and down and renegotiating every year. So those are going to be interesting articles they're going through the advisory committee right now. We've got an article for 2 additional liquor licenses in town, and as you know, the state dictates how many per population you can have. So we're at that, and the Economic Development Committee, Selectmen, and different businesses had talked about this, and we're asking for 2 additional liquor licenses, and that's over at, some people call it Foxvale Plaza.
The new name
is now Forbes Crossing.
Forbes Crossing, yep.
Yeah, where those are not bars, but they're standalone restaurants, like 99, not 99.
Yep.
One of those standalone service, not a package store, but you have dinner and you have a beer or liquor.
Full service.
Full service. So those are 2 licenses on a warrant article. Interesting discussion. Article 6 is to remove the police chief's position from civil service. And the way it is right now, since 1936, I think, if you want to hire a fire chief, you take an exam, highest grade gets it. I think we're a little better than that now with a broad reaching. We want to certainly give possibility for anyone in-house to apply, and we strongly recommend it. I think there's very qualified people in-house. But I think it's reaching out to further the neighboring towns and the state and outside of state to say, this is what we have to offer. Who wants to be a police chief? That in addition to other
similar to how we as a community hire the fire chief.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's an antiquated. It's got some merits, but I think it's long-lived. Its life, and I think most of the other towns in Massachusetts have foregone that way in getting rid of it. So that's Article 6. Article 7 is a pretty simple one. It's extending a water main from Main Street up to Lakeview. When the Lakeview Pavilion burnt, short of putting in big underground storage tanks for water, there just wasn't the flow or pressure in that area, so it was time to revisit that. So that's something that the water department's doing. And I saved the last one. Article 1, it's what we're calling a home rule petition, and going back to the Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Committee, one of their charges per law now in Foxborough is to provide training for coaches and different people in town. So when we started looking at that, there's something that they call mandated reporters. So if you are a police officer or a teacher or somebody working with kids, you're a mandated reporter by state. That means you need to report, see something, say something. And it's not just sexual abuse, it's any abuse of children. And the second part is, if you're a mandated reporter by the state, you're required to do training. There's nowhere that says what type of training. So you ask any of the mandated reporters in any of the towns, they just don't do the training. So in Foxborough, we think we can do better than that. So there's a home rule petition that says we take the state law, add certain people to it. Coaches, if you want to coach in Foxborough, you need to be a mandated reporter. And if you're a mandated reporter, this is the training you have to take administered through the town. It doesn't cost the town anything, very minimal right now, all volunteers, but we do darkness to light. So if you're a coach, every 2 years you take this training. If you're a new coach, you take it immediately. And the abuse committee felt very strongly about it. And if you look at the people, superintendent of schools on it, and we've got representation from 7 sectors of the town, unanimously this is the way to go. Jay Barrows in his state aid has been working with us at the legislation. They've looked at it, and it's time to kind of put it to a formal vote. So a little long-winded, but there's a lot of stuff happening.
Well, you know what? That's been an issue that has been in the forefront, and it seems as though this is the logical conclusion. It means that the teeth are now going to be put into the reason why, and so good for you for championing that. We are so out of time, Jim. We, again, are being honored with Jim DeVellis, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, representing the 5 selectmen who serve our town, to lead us to tomorrow. And the state of the town is pretty darn good right now, I guess.
It's positive.
It's always one where we have to keep an eagle eye out, and hopefully folks will do the same when they come out to special town meeting on February 23rd at 7:30 at the high school. 30 seconds, last word.
Again, just Chris Mitchell, Ginny Capola, Dave Feldman, and John Gray. Very good board to work with. Again, we have disagreements and controversy sometimes, but I think the challenge is good for the town. I think a lot of stuff is coming through our table. We meet, at least twice a month. Sometimes it's 4 times a month. But it's a fine balance between residential, businesses, and putting it all together. And I'm proud of the work that the town does, all the boards, the volunteers, very public. I can't thank Cable Access enough. You're at every one of our meetings, every ribbon cutting ceremony, every dedication, good and bad, down to the design of Town Hall. We were talking about this earlier. Your design for the cable and the cameras and all that stuff is instrumental to getting people in Foxborough to understand what's going on. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Well, Jim, thank you so much. Jim DeVellis, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. And thank you, folks, for taking the time to watch with me. And I hope you've enjoyed this informative episode talking about our town, how healthy it is, and how important it is to be involved. Hope you're involved, and I hope if not, you will be soon. Until I see you on February 23rd at the special town meeting, I hope you have a great day in Foxborough.